Hey guys, Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends with a guide on Tayrel. Tayrel, an old school epic champion who was really the best epic in the game for a long time inside Raid. And now, well, he's still got it today. We're going to find out why. But first, a couple shout outs. We got Phil Hernandez. Can I get a Tayrel guide? Pretty stoked about it. You just pulled them. Congratulations. Joseph looking for a Vergis and a Tayrel. We can do Vergis in the future as well. Power Crep, but can you do a guide on OG Tayrel? Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about why he's been power crept as well and to what extent. Joseph coming back and add in a Vogoth to the list as well. And then we have Bellower, Painkeeper, Tayrel, Karato, Lanicus, and Gaius the Gleeful coming from Clever. We'll try to make all of those guides happen. We have done a Painkeeper guide here on the channel, and we've also done a Lanicus. So maybe this is a little bit of an old comment, or you haven't seen those guides. Anyway, guys, welcome to the actual game. High Elf champion, Tayrel. So let's talk about his kit first, and then let's talk about why he's been power crept, and again, to which extent he has been. He's a defense-based champion, which is amazing. It's easy to keep this dude alive. 1343 as a base defense, especially for an epic champion, is really, really solid. By the way, guys, if you hear meowing at all in the background, I'm not sure if you can pick it up or not. Just got a brand new kitten. And yeah, he misses his mother big time because he meows incessantly. Anyway, he's outside the door, but I can hear him. I'm not sure about you guys. We're going to decrease attack on the A1, 50% chance big version, right? Each hit 50% chance. We love to see that. On the A2, an AoE, decreased defense, 100% land rate. If the target's under a decreased attack, it's going to put a sleep on them as well. The sleep is, you know, it's nothing to rely on, but it's a nice to have on wave content as well. If you can set him up with a decreased attack, or of course he places it himself on the A1. So decreased defense, big version, 100% land rate, but it's a 4-turn cooldown. Of course, this is how and why he's been power crept. Now, really, the standard for decreased defense is a 3-turn cooldown lasting for 2 turns. So it's not as, well, it's reliable, but it's not as long-lasting as most of the decreased defenses that we look for inside the game. For that reason, you really have to have another debuffer in PvE on top of Tayrel to make sure you're covering for those 2 turns that they're not under debuffs. Either that or have a specifically optimized team around this kind of gap, if you will, in that decreased defense on the debuffs. Master Hexer is nice at extending the duration, but it's not going to be enough. But the preemptive strike, where he lacks on the 3-turn or the 4-turn cooldown on the A2, he makes up on preemptive strike. This is a very good ability. 4-turn cooldown, attacks one enemy. Decrease the target's turn meter by 50%. If fully depleting the target's turn meter, which will be the case oftentimes, especially if you're not on auto, you can just pick out whoever you're attacking. It will place a 2-turn stun. So a 2-turn stun, there's only a handful of champions in the game that even have that ability. I want to say probably around 5 or so off the top of my head. And Tayrel may be the only epic in the game with a 2-turn stun. No, Andrysia has it too. And coincidentally, also a High Elf. So Andrysia on her A2. Stun for 2 turns if the target doesn't have any active buffs. Either way, guys, just the turn meter manipulation here, the 50%, which is really big on the A3, is amazing to have against bosses, against Spider Boss, against Fire Knight, obviously, once you get that shield down. Tremendous against, well, you know, Dark Fae. You know all the bosses that are susceptible to turn meter manipulation. So, yeah, he's got it, man. He's got it. He's also got defense in all battles by 25%. We love to see it, a great aura. So, yeah, when I started playing this game, there's no doubt about it. Tayrel was the #1 epic champion that everybody wanted to get their hands on. Straight up, nobody better. Back in my day, right? Nowadays, again, it's a little bit power creep, but he's still very, very good. He's great in Clan Boss on a non-unkillable team because he has the dependable version of that decreased attack on his A1 and also brings the decreased defense, not to mention the aura lead. So a lot to bring to the table. Again, he's tanky. I'm going to show you how I built this champion. You guys can probably guess. I'm not overcomplicating it. This is a fairly easy champion to build. You have a few questions to ask yourself. I'm actually lucky enough to have him fully awakened as well. That's pretty cool, huh? So you can see double perception and 1 speed set. Listen, he's a debuffer. I want him to go before my nukers every time. Tayrel is a really serviceable mid-game debuffer for the arena. And when I say mid-game, I mean like up to gold 4, gold 5, just to be your arena decreased defense champion. However, in order to have him play that role, he's going to have to be fast enough, right? So obviously there are better options out there. Midnight Ritual is much better in a PvP environment from Masteries than Tayrel. But hey, a lot of you guys watching right now, you might not have a Masteries. You might have a Tayrel, right? I know on my mini account, I have a Duck the Pierced, and that's all I have for a reliable decreased defense champion and Alexander the Sharpshooter. Sometimes you're going to make do with what you got. So in the arena, I would say he's good until you have a better option, right? You can say that about almost every champion in the game to some extent. But it is nice to have that 2-turn stun coming back in that turn meter manipulation as well. Just note that in the arena, you're going to need a lot of accuracy to pull that off consistently on the A3, especially against tankier champions. However, we have him built with a decent amount of accuracy today, 406. We have 106, 168 on the crit rate, crit damage, 237. As I said, speed is very important. Hey, again, with a 1343 base defense, very, very high for an epic champion, he's easy to build to take a hit or two, right? His HP is a little bit low. We don't necessarily wanting him to get aggro from all the bosses, so we might need to bump that up a little bit. Either way, that's how I have him built. I have accuracy on his banner. I have crit damage on his amulet. I have defense on his ring. I have speed on the boots. I have defense percentage on the chest. And I have crit rate on the gauntlets. Now, why crit rate? Let's go ahead and pull them up really quickly here on hellhades.com, guys. You can see overall overall champion ranking is a 4-star. They give him, they call him the Spider God. I would say he maybe used to be the Spider God back before Spider Hard and Spider, 21 to 25. But old school, he definitely was. And the reason I say he used to be is because of that turn meter on the A3. He could set the table with a decreased defense on everybody, and then he can come back in the second turn and take away 50% of that Spider turn meter. Really, really powerful. Obviously can still be used, but just that's why he was so amazing on Spider 20 specifically. Anyway, we have Ice Golem 5 out of 5. Ice Golem is great as well because the Ice Golem hits so hard, right? So because Ice Golem hits so hard, it's nice to have a tanky defense-based champion like Tayrel as your debuffer. And then you can see all the other areas he's used. Basically everywhere, dungeon-oriented. His best scores for Doom Tower are going to be Frost Spider and Celestial Griffin. I would agree with that. I would say against Dark Fae is not too bad either. He can come in and do that nice AoE nuke / debuff against your own team in the beginning of that battle. And then against Dark Fae, you can come in with that turn meteor reduction. So I would actually score him a little bit higher than a 2.5, maybe a 4, or 3.5, or a 4 for Dark Fae, in my opinion. When we look at his stats, we have a 1.7 strong damage rating on his A1, a 3.5 damage rating, or 3.5 multiplier, defense based on the A2, which is not bad at all. Again, it scales pretty well. So a 3.5, I would call that overall, grading, I would call it strong personally. And then we have a 5.3, which is very strong on his A3 as well. So the dude, he can dish out a punch, which is nice for a debuffer. Picture him very similar damage-wise to a Duck the Pierced, right? To a Stag Knight, those type of champions, right? So let's go ahead and get into his you can see I have Cruelty. Now, have Cruelty decrease target's defense by 4% per hit, up to 40% for champions, 20% for bosses. 6-star Cruelty is so strong, but so is 6-star Crushing Rend, right? Every hit will ignore a percentage of the target's defense. If he was an all-out nuker and I was just trying to min-max damage on this champion, then I would definitely go with Crushing Rend. However, Tayrel's not an all-out nuker. He's a guy who's bringing all the debuffs and the control on top of a little bit of damage. A nice amount of damage to have, right? He's kind of a hybrid in that regard. So because of that, we're gonna go with the Cruelty. The other option, of course, guys, we always say this, but the other option is Chainbreaker, right? You go in for Chainbreaker, get the defense, the HP, the accuracy, the speed, all stats which we need, obviously, and then we have a chance of removing debuffs, as well as a 40% chance of filling the champion's turn meter by 20% when hit. And then I guess I will say the other one is going to be Commanding Presence, right? Strengthen your team's aura, get a little bit of HP, resistance, and speed at the same time. Let's go ahead and do his masteries together here, guys. Before we get into them, guys, real quick, you'll note my crit rate on Tayrel is 106. 106. So there's no reason for the extra crit rate on Deadly Precision. However, there's no need for extra attack either. Attack does absolutely nothing on this champion. So I'll go with a crit rate in case I change gear around later on. At least I'll have that extra buffer, right? Okay, we're going to go down the left-hand side, single out, bring it down, methodical. We're just going to end up at good old Giant Slayer. Let me push myself over here. I don't want to cut my shoulder off from half my body either. So then we're going to go support tree as well. We're going to go with pinpoint accuracy. We're going to go with charge focus. We're going to go with swarm smiter. We're going to pick up arcane celerity, 30% chance to increase turn meter when a debuff expires by this champion. We love that mastery. Lore of Steel is going to help us out big time in this build. And then, of course, Master Hexer is going to be great. Sniper is going to be great for the A1 as well. So there we have it, guys. Let me just go with, let's see, Evil Eye and Heart of Glory. All right, guys, so that's the final masteries on Tayrel. Again, it's pretty standard, I guess, for a debuffer build, but I think it works really great on this champion. So everything makes sense. Here we go. We got everything ready to go. Let's see how much that bumped him up. 240 speed. I mean, it's not bad, right? That nice little bump that we got from the Lore of Steel. I think it was at 236, 237 earlier. Let's go ahead and start him out in the arena. Just have some fun with this champion, you know? Not a bad debuffer on like a go second team, something like that, or a go first team, depending on what you have and what you need. Again, he's not a champion. I'm not trying to kid any of you guys. He's not an end game arena champion. He's not the type of debuffer you see in the end game. So take that into consideration. I would never max this champion specifically just for the arena. But as I said earlier, you know, learning from how I use Duke the Pierce, whatever, tomato. However, how I use that guy is basically he's a jack of all trades. I use him everywhere, you know? So that's kind of what I'm doing here in this Tayrel build. So we don't need to show you guys a lot of arena. Let me just go in with he's going to open up with as A2. You can see it deals a decent amount of damage. And look at that defense decreased on all the enemies. That's because of that mastery there. Really powerful. I'm running Flyja as my nuker here, as you guys can see as well. He comes in there 77k. On that A3. I mean, it's nice to have a turn meter reduction in a 2-turn stun, but sometimes you don't need it if you kill them, right? And keep in mind, he's also decreasing their defense by, what, 4% or whatever on that first hit. So it's really nice. It's going to make everybody, not just as allies, our other champions on the team, but himself do more damage throughout the battle because of that juicy blessing. All right, so here comes Mountain King. He does nothing at all against Tayrel there. That's pretty wild considering he has an affinity matchup. But you can see Tayrel actually outdamaged Flyja, you know? He outdamaged the nuker in that situation. So guys, that's, you know, it's a little bit of arena with that champion. I don't feel like we need to kind of overdo it. Let's go High Elf Faction Wars real quickly here. All right, guys, here in Faction Wars, we have Yannica, Deliana, Royal Guard. We have a Reliquary Tender and a Tayrel. So not a lot of survivability on this team, but we do have a Reviver and Healer and Reliquary Tender if we need it. Hopefully we can get the job done here. So a lot of DPS. You can see, obviously, he went first, which is great. As I mentioned in the beginning here, especially for any new players out there, you want to make sure that you have your debuffer going faster overall than your nukers and anybody else on the team for the most part, other than the speed boosters, right? If I was running like an Apothecary on this team, it would be okay if Apothecary was faster than him. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. I'm sure you guys can tell already, but I can kind of feel it as I talk. So we're going against the stupid man-eaters with their stupid unkillables. I'll come back to you guys when we actually get to the red boss. Be right back. All right, guys, here we are at the red boss. Already into the swing of things here. Luckily, we have the great Yannica. Reliquary, can you go ahead? Yes, she can. Cleanse everybody off the team. It'll be interesting to see how much damage you can put out compared to these other champions. The nice thing is that decreased attack on the A1, right? Great for bosses. It's very dependable on a 2-time hitter. So again, if you pull this guy early, a great early game clan boss champion. Just put him in there in the lead and it becomes so much easier. He's bringing that extra defense on the aura, the decreased attack and the decreased defense. Decreased attack, of course, being one of the most important things on a non-unkillable team for clan boss. So there goes the big nuke from Royal Guard. I think we'll have a Royal Guard guide going out in a day or two here on the channel as well. Trying to cover some of the more popular epics. But as you guys can see, getting the job done. And it's really nice, too, because we're getting you can see that turn meter on that A3, too. We're getting the job done, and everybody's healthy at the same time. Or, excuse me, healthy the entire time. I didn't see anybody's HP drop a ton. Yannica obviously out-nuking everybody, but it's really incredibly telling that Tayrel and Royal Guard had the same amount of damage. As a matter of fact, Tayrel out-damaging Royal Guard, and Royal Guard has crit damage on his gauntlets. You know, not crit rate like Tayrel does. So we built him out to do a little bit of damage, and he has certainly delivered, out-damaging Deliana as well. All right, guys, before I let you go, I just want to show you a quick spider run here. We have Newt, we have a reset champion in Kymar, and we have Tayrel. The reason he's so good in Spider is because of this. I'm just going to demonstrate it to you. It's pretty obvious, right? But we're going with the A2 to the A3 before a Spider even gets a turn. So we come in here with the A2. We put decreased defense on everybody. We have Newt go in there. He's going to be dealing tons of extra damage because he has the decreased defense set up, obviously. Let's just go with the A1. He got an extra turn. And now you can see we're at a position where the Spider is going to get another turn. We can come in here and preemptive strike, decrease turn meter, reset it right back to 0. That's what I'm talking about. Now Newt can come in there and end the entire battle. So basically, it doesn't matter what champions you're using. Just trying to illustrate how good he can be in Spider from going from the A2 into the A3. Decrease defense on everybody, and then boom, we have the turn meter manipulation 50%, which obviously is a ton. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.